when we speak of peace, actually, it's a very personal matter. This is our vision. You cannot share something which you haven't got. So if you want to build peace, you need to embody this peace and share it around, isn't it? And when there is peace, when peace is expressed, we notice that this is when human values are expressed, isn't it? In a place where harmony lies, is developed, this is where we can witness that, human values. And actually the institution which Stephane and I represent is called the International Association for Human Values. It's an NGO, quite large NGO, present in more than 150 countries in the world, working with governments, civil society, universities, etc. All range of society, all sectors of society, companies. Because as I said, it's a very personal matter. It starts on the micro level. If we really come back, boil it down to what peace is. And this is what a war is, isn't it? It's a community of people joining efforts to fight. So similarly, peace is a community of people joining efforts together to foster those human values. And this is the approach which we've cultivated and which we share, because it's common to everyone. Human values are the most universal values there are. So we come back on the individual level and work on that piece, experience it, make it a responsibility. Because it's only when this responsibility is shared within the community that it can grow, that it can lead somewhere. So it's this taking responsibility for peace to be settled on the individual level, and then share within a group, share within a community. A community can be a group of people from civil society, or a company, or a government. Examples are, and Stephane is going to give a greater account of this because he has an amazing expertise in that field on a rather international level. Working with a group of students or adults from the general public, or working to help the World Bank Institute to promote peace through its training, awareness, educational training, bringing awareness to decision makers, people who will implement peace policies in their countries. So from the, if I may say, the primary level of society, any individuals to institutions. It's to share this vision in the long term. So, and just to conclude on how the scope of peace for us is not only when a war broke, it's whenever there is a disorder. It can be a disaster, it can be anything that brings a disorder. Disorder in the mind of an individual, or a disorder in the dynamics or structure of a society. So this is how relevant, it is to the experience that we share and foster of peace, from micro to macro. Yes. So perhaps I'll let Stephane speak more about this. He's had the chance to approach different communities in the world.
Yeah. So I would just share about my own experience, which is what I have, in fact. And for sure, there is these two aspects that we can see in wars. There is an institution who can deal with it, and we can decide if we'll have war or not. That it is one aspect, and on this aspect, most of the time there is some interest, economical, political, religious. But the other part on the war aspect is there is some human being behind that. And the one who is deciding the war is not the one who will really suffering about the wars. So what we are working, it is on the ground level. We are really working to release trauma from the people. Also to bring community together. And I was in 2004 in Ivory Coast when they had this problem between France and Ivory Coast. For sure, during the war it's quite delicate. Before the war, as NGOs from our side, we couldn't do anything. But after war, what can we do? That is the most important thing that we can observe. So first of all, in Ivory Coast, what we did, we brought together two groups of ethnies who were fighting. We bring all these people, it was 100 youngsters, and it was 50 from each side. We brought all these people, and we have done the program to release the traumas, because it was very delicate situation. And after that, we brought the knowledge how we can work to rebuild, what we can do after the wars. And that was very great experience, because these 100 youngsters, they were all together, and after that they were deciding do not find anymore, because I just observed that they were human beings. In fact, they were human beings. And that is the most important thing that we can really work on it. As NGOs, I'm not talking about institutions, but as NGOs, public institutions, what we can really do is how we can deepen our roots and how we can enlarge our vision. Most of the times, if we are observing the problem in religious wars, there is no tolerance. Even there is not a real understanding about the other. And if you're observing our education also, when you take a kid, you give a knowledge about maybe some religion, your tradition. I'm Christian, so you will get your knowledge about Christianity. But what about giving a knowledge about Islam, about Hinduism, about Buddhism? We have to bring the knowledge of what people are living on this earth. And we cannot say that there's only one kind of spirit, one kind of people, because there's not one kind of tree, there's not one kind of cat. You understand? There is diversity. And what we can really do, and what we should really focus, in fact, is how we can educate our people. That will be the main things. How we can educate our people on the ground level. We can bring more knowledge about the difference. We have to bring harmony in diversity. That is the focus for the, I will say, let's say 25 next years, we should already focus on that. And for that, we need to collaborate hands in the hands. So, really, I will just finish to say that there's a big hope, and because all of us, we are here, and we are all smart enough to bring some new things in society. And I would say that it will be my wish for the next 25 years.
What are you doing, or what are your ideas with respect to promoting peace within the family? For example, in the United States, our divorce rate is 50%. That means that 1 out of every 2 families is breaking up. So if we're going to promote peace at the individual level, how does that translate into promoting peace within the family, and how do you address it? How do you actually accomplish this?
Family is the first representation of a society. It starts like that. It's you, then your family, first materialization of a small society, and then your community, your city, family is very important. In fact, the aim, I guess, and I trust behind any peace initiative is to create a one world family. It is that. So long as you realize you share the same values with everyone, we're all craving for the same. It would be very foolish not to admit it. We all want peace, and we all want this equality of exchange, of sharing. This can only happen in a fearless environment. So the dynamics of peace has all to do with the dynamics of fear. How does that happen? At this individual level and collective level.
Yes, and in fact, what I can add is, if you observe as a human being, all of us, we have to deal with people, right? But we have to deal with our emotions. But on our education, we have learned how to deal with our negative emotions?
In our education.
We have learned how to deal with our stress? Somebody will tell you about mathematics, economics, all these aspects of life. But what about life itself? And if you just give a little time, I was teaching in a prison in France since 3-4 for 3 years I was teaching in France in prison.
I'm still on.
And I'm still high, and Ariane also is part of the team. And when you have people at the front of you, I mean, it's not like because they are here because they have stolen some clothes or whatever. They're here for biggest,
Offense, crimes.
yes, crimes.
Serious crimes.
But at the end, when you have this guy who is crying and come to you and say, wow, I didn't learn that I can deal with my anger. I was a young boy. I was always angry to anyone, my teachers, my parents. But it was like a ball of fire, but nobody taught me how to deal with it. And if we really put our intention out to bring knowledge about how we live our life, certainly
How we take responsibility.
we can take more responsibility in the better way.